News Central now this hour begins with updates on the suit challenging legality of the EFCC. The Kogi State government and others have been urged to pull out a Supreme Court suit challenging legality of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and two other anti-corruption agencies. The case, filed by Kogi's Attorney General and later joined by 15 states, awaits a verdict from the court. CREAP Africa Initiative, a civic group, warned that a favourable ruling could undermine Nigeria's anti-corruption efforts. In a statement by the Executive Director Sylvanus Udoenoh, the group urged Nigerians to oppose the move, stating it would embolden corrupt actors. The statement also questioned the timing of the challenge following a Supreme Court decision on local government autonomy and called for a renewed commitment to fighting corruption. Away from that, we move to the education sector, where the Non-Academic Staff Union of Nigerian universities have begun an indefinite nationwide strike over the continuous withholding of their members' 4-month salaries since 2022. The Joint Action Committee, JAC, of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities disclosed this in a statement on Sunday. The statement was jointly signed by SANU National President Mohammed Ibrahim and NASU General Secretary Peter Zadeyemi. The two unions said the strike action begins Monday, 28th October and continues indefinitely. JAC said the decision followed multiple ultimatums earlier issued and protests held to ensure government paid the withheld salaries without yielding positive results. The National President, Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, Makolo Hassan, shared his thoughts on this.
What we are about doing now is the last hope, because we have been pushed to the wall. Because the immediate past Honorable Minister of Education said the President has graciously given approval, and they in the Ministry of Education has done all that were necessary to be done, that the document is lying on the table of the Honorable Minister of Finance. So all we are saying, and all our members are saying, they are looking forward to see a lot. But if nothing is done, there is no going back. Oh yes, we have a principle before embarking on our union, on strike by our union, because this is a joint action committee of NASU and SANU. And so at all the various branches across the federation, they will converge tomorrow, the two unions. They will meet. We have given them the guidelines, and they know our guidelines, and they have to obey the rules. They will meet and proceed on the indefinite strike action.
Similarly, members of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities, Michael Okpara University branch, have joined in an indefinite strike declared by the national body. The chairman of the Senior Staff Association of Universities in the university, St. Elvis Ogwagu, and his secretary, Louis Agoko, said it has become expedient that the workers of the two unions down tools to drive home their demands. Part of their demands, they say, include 4-month-old arrears of salaries and non-implementation of the agreement is reached with the federal government some time ago. The leadership of the body says at noon the indefinite strike will officially commence, while supervision of compliance commences in earnest. And still on education matters, let's talk about still the industrial action. Members of the Joint Health Sector Unions and Assembly of Healthcare Professionals, JHUSU, last Friday commenced a 7-day warning strike following a 15-day notice of industrial action issued to the federal government. The national chairman of the union, Kebiru Menejibre, listed some of its demands to include immediate implementation of the consolidated health salary structure, payment of a 25% review of its arrears from June to December 2023, upward review of retirement age for health workers, tax waiver on healthcare workers' allowances, and immediate payments of COVID-19 inducement hazard allowance, among others. The body is asking all its members across the country to comply with the directive. And to talk more about this, maybe we'll try to connect with our correspondent later. And still on education matters, following the announcement by the Federal Ministry of Education that a new basic education curriculum will launch in January 2025 to be followed by a revised senior secondary curriculum in September 2025. The stakeholders and educationists have been reacting to the proposed 21st century skilled curriculum that aims to resolve learning challenges and improve student employability. The curriculum includes 15 trade subjects for basic education, covering digital literacy, vocational skills, hospitality, and services such as construction, satellite installation, and garment making. The ministry is to spend the next 3 months on preparation, including teachers' guide for effective implementation. And to talk about this, we're joined by an educationist, and that's Jola Awo Oluwafumilayo. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Let me start by asking what you anticipate the new curriculum will impact, on the students, particularly in terms of academic achievement and skill acquisition.
Well, it's not new that we have trade skills introduced into the curriculum. But the challenge now is when you're bringing trade skills into the regular curriculum. We have the academia where you have students that are there for the linear learning. So integrating trade skills with linear learning will have a lot of challenges along the way, because I know we have trade schools already, that do carpentry, electrical, mobile, telephony, and all those things. But merging it with regular schools will have a lot of challenges.
Okay, what strategies are in place to ensure that teachers, are up to date, those to impact this, skills are up to date to deliver, new curriculums effectively? How do you think there can be monitoring by the ministry to address, challenges when it comes to teachers being prepared to impact, such skills?
Exactly. That's where the real challenge is in this case. That's where the real challenge is. Because as it is, you have teachers that are, certified in what they teach: math, English, geography, ICT, whatever it is. Those are linear subjects. Those are subjects that you have textbooks, the student needs to just be in the class. The practical-based ones, like the physics, the chemistry, the biology, you still have issues with lab work and all that. But when you're bringing in carpentry, where it's hands-on, so to speak, staffing becomes an issue, because to get regular teachers to teach that will be practically impossible. So that means you still need to employ people, you need to train people, you need to have those facilities on ground. Now, look at our public schools, look at our state schools. What's going to happen? Are they going to build new libraries? Are they going to bring new labs? Are they going to have to get those machines? Are they, so there are a lot of dynamics into this thing. It's not going to be bread and butter, so to speak. So having it done in 3 months will be quite interesting.
Well, I'm glad you touched on public schools. I was going to ask you, how inclusive is this curriculum, looking at low-income schools as well as rural areas?
Can I have that again, please?
Okay, you touched on public schools being parts of the scheme. I was asking you, how inclusive is this curriculum, looking at low-income schools as well as the rural areas?
Exactly. That's where the challenge is. Because if you decide to change the curriculum across board, okay, decide to change the curriculum across board, so that means all schools will have to adapt to it. So what happens to schools in rural areas? What happens to schools even in the township? Right now, we know it's not easy to even fund the schools as is. So.
Since we lost connection with our guest there, we'll thank him all the same for his insight on the news. When we return after the break, Assault on driver, police issues warning against use of IGP's name to intimidate others following the alleged assault on a driver. Details shortly. Thank you for staying tuned. The Nigerian Police Force has issued a strong warning against the use of the Inspector General's name to intimidate others. This response follows a viral video on X showing lawmaker Honorable Alexander Igweche allegedly assaulting a commercial driver in Maitama, Abuja. The police confirmed on their X handle that they were aware of the incident and that an official report has been filed at the Maitama Divisional Headquarters. In their statement, the police acknowledged the confrontation between the boat driver, Stephen Abuwatseya, and Honorable Alexandra on October 27, 2024. They emphasized that the FCT command is actively handling the case and reminded the public that using the IGP's name to intimidate others undermines the office's commitment to fairness. And now to security matters, where the Catholic Diocese of Auchi has lodged an official report to law enforcement agencies for the release of Reverend Father Thomas Oyode, rector of the Immaculate Conception Minor Seminary in Edo State, who was abducted on Sunday evening. A press release from the Diocese Director of Communications, Reverend Father Peter Egwelewa, on Monday, stated that gunmen attacked priests and seminarians during evening prayers around 7 p.m. While Oyode was taken into the bush, the vice rector and seminarians have been accounted for and relocated for safety. The diocese has not yet communicated where Oyode's abductors. The seminary, established in 2006, has produced over 500 graduates. The 6th Division of the Nigerian Army in Port Harcourt has deactivated 3 artisanal refineries and arrested 5 suspects while recovering over 100,000 liters of illegally refined diesel in the Niger Delta region. The division's Assistant Director of Public Relations, Lieutenant Colonel Danjuma Jonah, reported that one site in Degema contained over 12,000 liters of stolen diesel. Troops also intercepted a wooden boat carrying over 7,000 liters of stolen condensate in the Baal area and impounded 2 additional illegal sites. Meanwhile, Major General Jamal Abdul Salam commended the troops for their efforts and urged them to maintain security for socio-economic activities in the region. Away from that, consignment of opioids concealed in soles of shoes and hair attachments heading to the United States, United Kingdom, and Cyprus have been intercepted by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, MMIA Ikeja, Lagos, and 3 courier companies in the state. A total of 2,118 pills of tramadol concealed in soles of 13 pairs of shoes going to Cyprus were seized at the export shed of the Lagos airport on 12 October 2024. An additional 380 tablets recovered from the home of the sender, Okenwa Kelvin Uchena, during a follow-up operation in Enugu on Thursday, 24th October. The cash of 968,880 naira and a Toyota Avalon car marked UWN 389AS were also recovered from the suspect at the time of his arrest. And to talk about this, we're joined by NDLEA's Director, Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Just share with us how the agency was able to achieve this win.
Well, it's almost a known fact out there that all our operations are now 100% intelligence-led. And so when we have, we work with a lot of intelligence, we work with a lot of technology. And so when we have all of this information, they are processed, and then we conduct surveillance to reconfirm the information we're working on. And that's how all of these things have been coming to be. That is the arrest and the seizures, and sometimes even the suspect themselves, in most cases, or more often than not, taken unawares because we rely on a lot of intelligence, and we rely a lot on our technological capacity and the capability to be able to keep track on the movements of these illicit substances as well as the suspects.
What would you say are the challenges in the system that makes it easy for drug traffickers to, to exploit, these kind of crimes?
Well, I think don't forget that the drug problem, it's a global challenge. Even in the best of environments or societies where they have everything that you can think of in place, these elements still try to do as much as they can to penetrate those societies to move these illicit substances around. So it's a human thing. It's in human nature to try and see how they can undermine the existing structures and systems in place to see how they can take advantage of situations and systems and commit crimes and move these things around. But the good thing is here in Nigeria, we are not allowing them to, we're not giving them any breathing space as much as they try. We try as much as possible to also ensure that we block them and ensure that these things are not freely moved around. You know that indeed, whether they move these things by air, or that is through our airports, or by sea, or even the land border, we have full presence in all of these places, and we try to ensure that we don't allow them to move them around our country. And again, we also have obligations to other countries, and that's why we also block these things from going to other places. But one important thing is where some of these things are coming from, especially the opioids. We are also trying to expand the frontiers of our network of our working relationship with our counterparts in all of these places, so as much as we try to block these things from going from our own country to all of these jurisdictions, we also expect those jurisdictions to reciprocate. And that's why we are also going into partnerships, relationships with these our counterparts in all these countries to ensure that, through a memorandum of understanding, and I'm sure all of this, this information is something already in the public space, so that to also see how we can work in synergy, work together to block these things from coming to our country the same way we work, we collaborate with other stakeholders in Nigeria to ensure that we don't allow these things to move around, we don't allow these elements to have their way.
All right, thank you so much for your insights on the news. NDLEA's Director, Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi. Many thanks indeed.
Thank you for having me.
Away from that, the FCT Emergency Management Agency has confirmed 7 dead at the building collapse in Sabon Lugbe of Abuja. News Central Television paid visits at the scene at the Vidash Estate area, located several kilometers away from the city center. Our correspondent, Amadine Uyi, has details.
Mustafa Yusuf is a resident of Lugbe in Abuja. Mustafa can best be described as a scavenger, scavenging debris of abandoned sites like this one at the Vidash Estate, located at the Sabon Lugbe area of the FCT, for metals and anything of value to sell. Mustafa is among one of the lucky ones who escaped a building which collapsed at the location, killing 7 persons. He says that he was on site when the event occurred.
Abin da ya faru a wancan gini sun yanke fulolin ƙasa. Mun zo muna cewa mutane su fita, wasu ba su fita ba, sai kuma Allah ya kawo to an gama yanke ƙasan da ya rarrake to shine shi gini ya yanke saboda da faduwa aikin da abin da ya faru duka bai fi karfe 1:30 ba.
He also expressed his regret at the demise of other scavengers.
Ina takaici saboda duk yan uwana ne, duk mai neman abinci kaga dan uwana ne, da Kirista da Musulmi duka yan uwana ne, ban bambanta ba. Kowanne abokin neman abinci ne. Kuma wanda suka rasa Allah ya ji kansu da gafara, wanda kuma ba su lafiya kuma Allah ya kara musu lafiya.
News Central Television was on site. and also spoke to some on the location who expressed their views on the incident.
Ba za mu iya gane, ni dai gaskiya ba zan iya gane mutane suka rasu ba. Ko ba haka ba, gaskiya ba zan iya gane saboda ni ban je na an fara fito da gaskiya ban tsaya na kalla ba.
I feel very bad, honestly, because in making them die is all they need to look for what to eat. And in the process of removing and get what to eat, that is where this incident happened to them. That thing, why it happened, the place is Fulani full. The one why they die and the one why they die for hospital. Because of that thing, we need, if the government may they help us. Because of that, what happened is bad thing. It don't bad.
What pains me is that is a FCD responsibility before anybody start working. If there is demolition there, they should stop the work. Look at people spend billions of naira, they come and demolish, which is very wrong. Please, they should be walking around Abuja. Anywhere they start building, before they would do something like this, they should stop the project.
While there have been different figures bandied about on the exact number of persons who lost their lives, the FCT Emergency Management Agency says that 7 died, while several others escaped with various degrees of injury. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
News Central has emerged as the most informative and outstanding TV station of the year at the Blissful Affairs Magazine Recognition Awards. The prestigious award, presented on Saturday in Lagos, acknowledges News Central's unwavering commitment to developmental journalism and community engagement. According to the award organizers, News Central's in-depth coverage and analysis have provided valuable insight, empowering Nigerians to navigate the country's economic and security challenges. A representative from the station, Oluwatosin Ebonlomo, received the award on its behalf.
On behalf of Badra Awards, I present to News Central Television most informative and outstanding station. Congratulations.
Thank you for staying tuned. The news continues in Central Africa, where a devastating attack by Boko Haram on Chadian army base near the Nigerian border has claimed the lives of approximately 40 people. The attack occurred last Sunday night at a garrison house in over 200 soldiers, with Boko Haram seizing weapons and burning vehicles. Chadian President Mahamat Idris Deby Itno has launched an operation to track down the attackers. This incident is the latest in a string of attacks by Boko Haram, which has been wreaking havoc in the region since 2009, displacing millions and killing thousands. The attack highlights the ongoing struggle against jihadist groups in the region. Up north, Tunisia's Coast Guard recovered the bodies of 16 migrants over the weekend and Monday near Malalech, Salkata, and Cheba, according to National Guard official Hossein Eddin. The bodies, which were decomposed and remain unidentified, are the latest victims in a series of migrant boat disasters in the Mediterranean. Last month, 15 Tunisians, including infants, drowned and 10 others went missing after their boat capsized near Jebba. The same month, 13 bodies of the sub-Saharan migrants were also found in the area. Tunisia, now the main departure point for migrants from Africa, faces a growing migration crisis as people seek a better life in Europe. We head to Southern Africa, where the African National Congress has introduced a mandatory political education course to be completed by members by December 2026. Launched by ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa at a special NEC meeting in Boksburg, the program aims to enhance leadership skills within the party. Starts in January 2025. It will be implemented across all ANC structures, including branches, leagues, and national leadership. The 5-module course covers topics such as ANC history, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and branch functions. Ramaphosa emphasized that the course available in all official South African languages, deepens understanding of the country's history and strengthens analytical skills. Former Gauteng ANC chairperson David Makura will help lead the program. Staying in the north, our citizens of Botswana beat with anticipation. The countdown to the 2024 election is on. We'll dive into Botswana's atmosphere as political parties make their last stand, pulling out all stops to win the hearts and minds of the electorate. The Botswana governing party, BDP, has been in power for almost 6 decades and is also trying to pull off a trick on Wednesday's general election. In its manifesto, the Botswana Democratic Party is calling for change. Meanwhile, analysts say the outcome of the election is hard to predict this time. And let's cross now live to our correspondent Bongani Sisiba, who is in Gaborone, the capital, for more. Bongani, just give us updates on the state of things over there.
Good afternoon to our viewers. I'm standing in the middle of Botswana University, here where the electoral observers are behind these walls that you can see behind me, and they are speaking to the media about the observations so far about these elections that will be held on Wednesday. We know that Botswana will be holding its elections to choose parliamentarians and also the president, with 3 major candidates that are coming from Botswana umbrella, that is the party that is the main opposition here, and also we have the BDP that is for the ruling party, where the president of the country, Mokgweetsi Masisi, will also be contesting. Then we have Botswana Patriotic Front. But to talk much about the Botswana Patriotic Front, it's a party that is being backed by the former president of this country, Botswana, Ian Khama. We know that after he fell out with the current president, Mokgweetsi Masisi, he then later joined this political party. So now he's campaigning against the ruling party, the party that was his former party. We know that also the former president has been in exile in South Africa for 3 years, but he's back now in the country and campaigning against his former party. But also we know that the opposition party, that is the umbrella party that is the leader of the party is Duma Boko. In 2019, it received over 1/3 of votes. So we don't know how it's going to do this time around, but analysts are saying that the ruling party, that is the BDP, is going to get more votes. But I was speaking to some of the citizens in the streets, just what they think about these elections, especially the youths. Some of the youths were telling me that they are going to vote this time around because most of them, they are looking for change. They were talking about free education, healthcare, and also talking about the economy of the country. But looking at Botswana's economy, it's not that bad looking at other African countries' economy, but the citizens are saying that they want to change, which means they are not happy about the economy that is here in this country. But also there are allegations from the opposition party that there are some Zimbabweans who are coming in to vote for the ruling party. These allegations, we are not starting to hear them from Botswana. We also had these allegations in Mozambique, where we know that Mozambique just held its elections and there's been violence and is still continuing in that country. And we are not expecting the same.
Just to ask, Bongani, okay, I was going to ask you, what do you perceive there come Wednesday? Do you perceive voter apathy or, enthusiasm from the people come Wednesday? Okay, since we lost connection with our correspondent there, Bongani Sisiba, giving us updates regarding elections in Botswana. We'll take a short break. Still ahead, Georgian President Zorobishvili accuses Russia of election fraud. Details shortly. Join us again. A nail-biting U.S. presidential campaign heads into a final week with polls showing little daylight between the two candidates as they ramp up appeals to their respective bases to turn out and vote. More than 41 million Americans have already cast early ballots ahead of Election Day on November 5 in what is to be one of the tightest elections in modern times. For News Central, international correspondent Afia Hagan has more.
Former President Donald Trump packed a crowd into New York's famed Madison Square Garden Arena on Sunday, where, stoking tensions on immigration, speakers made crude remarks about Latinos, and advisor Stephen Miller declared America is for Americans and Americans only. Trump accused his rival Kamala Harris of having destroyed the country.
Next Tuesday, you have to stand up and you have to tell Kamala Harris that you've done a terrible job, that crooked Joe Biden has done a terrible job. You've destroyed our country.
His speech was in some ways overshadowed by his openers, including a comedian who called the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico literally a floating island of garbage.
There's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico.
These comments have drawn condemnation from both Democrats and Republicans. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris spent Sunday going neighborhood to neighborhood in Philadelphia, in must-win Pennsylvania, with stops at a black church and Puerto Rican restaurant, and ending in a rally.
Philly, we have 9 days to get this done. And for the next 9 days, no one can sit on the sidelines. There is too much on the line, and we must not wake up the day after the election and have any regrets about what we could have done in these next 9 days.
Today, both candidates returned to key battleground states, with Harris heading to Michigan, where she faces opposition from Arab Americans outraged over U.S. support for Israel. Trump will head to Georgia, where he will address a gathering of pastors and faith leaders before holding a rally. Trump and Harris have both pushed hard to bring out their voter bases, with Trump aiming to fire up evangelicals. As Harris campaigns on abortion rights is central to her message, Trump has taken to extremes to paint her as radical, falsely claiming she's in favor of execution after birth. Harris has warned that Trump wants to take America back to the 1800s on the issue, as she tries to appeal to women as well as more moderate Republicans. But the vice president has run into problems with the Democrats' traditionally more multiracial, multi-faith base, as civilian casualties continue to mount in Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
For more on this, we're joined by our chief international correspondent, and that's Afia Hagan. Afia, it's 7 days to the election. Tell us what's happening on the campaign trail of Trump as well as Kamala.
Yes, it is the final days of the election, and the candidates are all about making their closing arguments at this point. And what you really will be seeing this week is all about the campaign hitting the battleground states. So today, Kamala Harris is in Michigan, where she's going to be talking to sort of your working class voters, your blue collar voters, and talking about putting more jobs in that state. You're going to have Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, her vice presidential running mate. He is going to be in Michigan as well. And Trump is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, where he will be delivering remarks at a rally of the National Faith Advisory body. And then later on in the week, you're going to have J.D. Vance is going to be in Wisconsin. Barack Obama is going to appear at a rally with Bruce Springsteen. Again, that's part of the Get Out the Vote concerts that they're doing. And Donald Trump Jr., that's the former president's son, is scheduled to speak at an event in Pennsylvania. So this week, yes, you are going to see the campaign proxies out, making their final arguments, and also with their supporters to make those final arguments as well.
Well, tell us what's been the reaction so far to comments from Republican loyalists, which have been described as bitter, racist, and even some say it's vulgar.
Well, yes, these were the comments that were made yesterday at this huge sort of MAGA rally, I guess you can call it, at Madison Square Garden. And you heard some of them there in my piece. You had the comedian saying that Puerto Rico was a floating island of garbage. You also had derogatory jokes about Latinos having lots of children, making lots of babies, jokes about Black people eating watermelon as well. And these went down a storm with the MAGA audience. I mean, in the room, they were very, very well received. But the Harris campaign initially seized on the Puerto Rican comments. And remember, he was making these comments in New York that has a population of about 500,000 people from Puerto Rico. Harris was coincidentally already supposed to be at a Puerto Rican restaurant. That was one of the stops that was pre-booked before these comments were made, but they certainly took advantage of that. She talked about the comments at the event in the Puerto Rican restaurant and also managed to garner support from a Puerto Rican superstar called Bad Bunny. His album in 2023 was the most streamed global album ever. And he basically endorsed Kamala Harris yesterday and shored up his base to do so also. And then you've had Republican candidates, the Republican Florida Republican Representative Carlos Jimenez. He's a close ally of Trump's, but blasted the remarks, saying this is not a joke, it's completely classless and in poor taste. The New York Republican candidate as well, Anthony Esposito, said, "I'm proud to be Puerto Rican. The only thing that's garbage was a bad comedy set. Stay on message." So condemnation, like I said, from both Democrats and Republicans at these comments. And, you know, last week we really saw Trump and Harris trying to shore up the Latino vote. It's a very important demographic that they're going after. And you could see this really affect the Latino vote when it comes to Trump. And it's an opportunity for Harris and the Democrats to seize on this and remind Latino voters why they should be voting for the Democrats and not the Republicans.
Well, thank you so much. Fingers crossed. We'll keep in touch with you to see how events unfold. Thank you so much, our Chief International Correspondent, Afia Hagen. Many thanks indeed. President Salom Zurabishvili has accused Moscow of orchestrating election fraud in Georgia, calling the election a Russian special operation. This happened as the Georgian opposition called for protests on Monday, and the European Union demanded an investigation into what it called irregularities after a disputed legislative vote that has showed a win for the ruling party accused of moving towards Russia's orbit. Jailed former President Mikhail Saakashvili has also called for mass protest. European Union Council President Charles Michel has called for a swift, transparent, independent investigation to adjudicate electoral irregularities and allegations. The elections, believed to be a test of the country's democracy, could determine Tbilisi's chances of joining the bloc. In the world of sports, a sports lawyer, Amobi Ezeaku, has commended the Confederation of African Football (CAF) for awarding 3 points and 3 goals to Nigeria's Super Eagles after Libya's no-show following Nigeria's challenging experience in Alabrak Airport. Ezeaku, who is also the general manager of Enugu Rangers, describes CAF's ruling as a testament to its commitment to fair play and integrity. It will be recalled CAF on Saturday awarded 3 points and 3 goals to Nigeria following the disrupted 2025 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON qualifier against Libya. The Super Eagles faced over 15 hours of detention at the Alabrak Airport, leading the Nigeria Football Federation to withdraw the Super Eagles from the match and arrange their return home.
Yeah, for me, I would say that the integrity of CAF was put to test in this matter. Remember that days before the decision was taken, a lot of arguments were for the Libyans because of the North African politics in CAF, but they've really vindicated themselves. And like I said, the fact speaks for itself. The argument for the Nigerian Football Federation really is very strong. It remains strong because I can see somewhere people are saying this.
And that's all on the news. Well, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Kogi, others urged to withdraw suits challenging the legality of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Police issues warning against use of IGP's name to intimidate others. Boko Haram attacks Chadian army base. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba.